Welcome back to the Enlightened Misfits podcast. I am your host, Lauren. And in today's episode, I have Heather. She is an intuitive relationship coach. Welcome, Heather. I'm so happy to have you today with us.
Oh, I'm honored to be here, Lauren. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. So, when we're getting started, can you kind of explain a little bit about yourself and kind of your story and how you got to be where you with the work that you do today?
Oh my goodness. In a nutshell, it began when I was a young mum of three young children, and my very dear school friend shared that her husband had been diagnosed with cancer. And at the age of 34, he passed away. And that seemed to be a catalyst in my life for going along to a local healing development circle. And I was a little bit spooked out at the beginning, giving off absent healing and seeing the work that was being done within the circle. But it was meant to be part of my journey. And I began to attend and learnt enough to spin off and start my own meditation group. And from that group, I had people that had experienced very unpleasant traumas in their lives. And I realized that beyond the meditation, beyond the mindfulness, that they needed coaching, which came very natural to me. And at school, they used to call me an agony auntie. And it's just part of who I am, to listen, to understand, to empathize, to have the compassion. And as I went through my own life journey, I had my third child who was more challenging than my other two. And I read in America that Lee Carroll had written a book about indigo kids, and it described my son. And at one point, he was going to be permanently excluded from his secondary school. And I took him to a lady who said, I can clear his Akashic records. And as she was doing it with charts and a dowsing crystal, I was linking in and intuitively picking up what was going on. And after this was cleared, the headmaster agreed to do something he'd never done before. And he moved my son into a different class in the same year. And my son went on to do his GCSEs and did very, very well. And he's now a very successful businessman with three children of his own. So in a nutshell, that is a very brief glimpse into my journey as to me training to be a practitioner to clear the Akashic records with the Spiritual Response Association, based in America and is worldwide. I'm one of their UK people. And from that, I realized I couldn't just clear somebody's records and say, off you go. They needed ongoing, sustainable growth. And it was overwhelming for it all to be done just like that. It needed to be done over their own journey in their own time, which is why now I offer programs or one-to-one with me.
I love that. I personally have worked a lot in the Akashic records too, and I'm a shamanic practitioner. And through my own journey, I realized this is so healing. And when first people say like Akashic records, right? They're like, "What the hell is that?" I'm like, "Well, just think of it. It's like a book of like it's a library of all of your stuff, right?" And I don't think people realize in society, I should say, in the spiritual community, of like how crucial it is to clear out those negative programs. So I would love to hear your perspective on, why accessing them and clearing them is especially important for entrepreneurs dealing with past trauma.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody. I feel, I know that the dentist hasn't got a great name. I know that many people think, oh, I don't want to go to the dentist. It's painful. I'm going to have fillings, or I'm going to have root canal treatment. It's horrible. It's painful. But why do I associate it with the dentist? It's because if you have your Akashic records cleared. You're not hypnotized. You're not in a different state. You're just on the end of a Zoom if you live elsewhere in the world and you're not local to where I am. And you're just chatting to me while I'm using the charts, using the dowsing crystal, linking in with your higher self or spirit that's telling me all what's going on, which is causing a problem to your potential in your current life. So I get the life wheel, I look at the 8 segments, I look at your score out of a 10 like a bicycle wheel, and if everything's a lovely 8 or 9 out of a 10, but your relationship is a 1 or a 2 out of a 10, you're going to have a very rough ride on your bicycle. It's not going to go round very easy. So I like to look at how can my mission, my soul mission, is to show my clients how to reach their potential. So I look at what is in the way of you being a 10 in your relationship. And there can be many, many reasons, and it's all shown on the charts, and it goes very, very deep, and you don't need to completely understand it. Now, 6 months later, after your clearing has been done, like the dentist, you return because you've got tartar on your teeth. You've carried on eating. You've carried on living. You've carried on drinking your tea or your coffee. Your teeth need a clean up. There might be some tartar. You might have eaten lots of sugary food, and you might have some fillings that need doing. So that's why I've got clients going back. I mean, I've been doing this for 30 years. I've got clients that come back to me and then they refer their mother, their sister. They might employ people and say, look, I've got a couple of new employees. They're not at their potential. Can you clear their records? We've got some big deals that we want to get on the table. And so I do all of that kind of work apart from what I share on my website, which is particularly aimed at ladies over the age of 50 who find themselves solo, because I've worked with a mentor and I believe everyone should have a mentor. And my mentor explained that just doing the Akashic records for anybody and everybody was too broad. I needed to niche it down. So I niched down to ladies like me. When I was 50, my 34-year-old relationship ended. I'd met him just before my 16th birthday, and I didn't know life without him. I didn't know who I was as a woman without him, and I didn't have a roadmap. I wanted someone to show me a roadmap, and a clairvoyant said to me, it's going to take you 8 years to get over this, because you've been with him for 34 years of your life. And I thought, oh my God, who's going to hold my hand? So I mapped it out myself, and I've put that into an online program so that my clients can have my support and have an online program if that's what they choose. But recently, I've been working one-on-one with ladies that weren't divorced. They've been widowed. It's a different scenario, and they might have been very happily married, but they might not have had a physical relationship for many years because their husband was very ill. So I meet my clients where they're at.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you say that you used your experience when your journey, when you did those 8 years and you put it into a program. Because I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs I talk to or that I work with, they're like, I don't know about my signature program, or you hear these programs online. Like, how do these people come up with these programs? And I always say it's probably their experience. So your experience, you just kind of, like you said, map it out or kind of build it. And, being an entrepreneur, you have to be very creative. Use your experience or what you've been through to kind of turn it into a program. So yes, thank you for that, because I think that's a key thing for entrepreneurs, especially dealing with past trauma, because your past trauma could be the kind of like the foundation of what you're building or why you do what you do.
Absolutely. It's you can have sympathy for someone when they've
Yeah.
gone through the trauma of a breakup or their husband has passed away. But unless you've experienced that, when someone's passed away, that's it. Um, that is the end. But with a divorce and you have children and
Yeah.
you share engagement parties, birthday parties, weddings, births of grandchildren, that person's still in your space and they might have someone else on the end of their arm. And it's a very difficult minefield to deal
Mhm.
with. And a lot of people just shut the door and they don't want to know, which causes an awful situation for their children because
Yep.
the children don't want to upset mum, they don't want to upset dad, but they want both of them in their life. And we need to navigate that.
Yeah. And I love that you said that too, because my situation is a little bit similar to, I feel like, a lot of situations. Like I was very open to co-parenting, but in my situation, it's more of like counter parenting. It's more of like, how can I control her? And it's more, and I've always promised myself, my daughter's 4.5, and I've always promised myself to never speak bad about her dad. You know, she's going to ask questions about her dad. You know, she's very intuitive and conscious like I am. So, you know, when she asks different questions, like, you were married to my daddy? Yes, I was married to your dad. Like, the questions that I can answer in her awareness of 4.5, I'm not going to go tell her my story. You know, eventually she'll know my story, but I want her to I always said to myself, and I say this to other people that are going through what I went through or in my situation, that you never want your kids to feel like they have to be the one to like navigate your unawareness, to just kind of go your path, go mine. And I just pretty much did that through my own healing and learning about, what I've been through, why the main purpose in which I know to be true is that he had in my life was to give me my daughter. And that's it. It's not black and white. You know, I've had plenty of, psychics and mediums tell me, and, my own guides, that is his main purpose, that everybody has a purpose, like everybody, in a relationship. And I realized I stayed way too long. I stayed through all of that way too long. And that's what I can be grateful for, that even though my ex-husband is this person and decided to act like this, I'm grateful because he gave me my daughter. And that's just kind of like where I sit. And people look at me like I'm crazy because they know my story. They know what I've been through. And I'm like, but I can look at it from a different perspective and lens for my daughter, because she still has a relationship with him, or whatever relationship he is allowing her to have with him. And I don't want to get involved. Like, I don't want to get involved with that, but I see a lot of women that are bitter, and, need to do some healing around it. And it's just affecting their kids. It's not affecting the other party. It's not affecting, them. It's truly affecting,
It is affecting them. It is affecting them.
yeah.
When we physically in our body um have the emotion, that we've got many layers of our aura.
Mm-hmm.
We have an emotional and a mental layer, and many other layers.
Yeah.
Um, when we hold on to resentment, we physically manifest a problem. When
Right.
we hold on to jealousy, unforgiveness, bitterness, all of those negative, lower, dense energies,
Mm-hmm.
it eventually affects the physical body. So when people say, oh, I've got this illness, it came out of the blue, it did not come out of the blue. It came from a long held belief or thought or feeling. And when I say to my clients, the first thing that we focus on is forgiveness, they'll say, oh, I can't forgive him. He did this and he did that and he made me feel like this.
Yeah.
And until you realize that that unforgiveness doesn't affect him whatsoever, but it affects you and your health, and your behavior is going to be copied, because monkey does what monkey sees,
Mm-hmm.
and the children will follow how you behave. If
Yeah.
you are a loving and giving and kind person, your children will be loving and giving and kind. If you are a resentful, bitter person, your children learn behavior because they don't know anything else. So it's very important to forgive. And they might have abandoned you. They might have betrayed you. They might have been abusive in one way or another. But if we can just forgive and think, well, what did I learn from that? Then the universe will never repeat that learning. But
Yeah.
if you haven't learned it, you go into another relationship and the same thing happens again. And you think, why is that happening again? Because you didn't learn, you didn't work on yourself. You've just thought, oh, I made a wrong choice. I'll make a new choice. But you need to step back. You need to work with a professional. You need to see the bigger picture. You need to understand your needs and how somebody else has needs. You need to understand your core values and whether their core value matches your core value. And if you don't do any of this before, you're going to have problems again. And second and third marriages have a higher divorce rate than first ones.
That's interesting that you say that. Now, why is that to be, what is that? What is the reason for that?
Because somebody has gone with a thought of, I chose a wrong one there. I'll go out on social media, on an internet dating site. I'll meet someone else. I don't want to be on my own. They might meet somebody like themselves. I want to be looked after. I want to be financially cared for. And like will meet like. And then the same pattern will repeat from what they experienced before because they haven't taken the time out to work on themselves. And what Spirit showed me was a starfish. Now, a starfish regenerates itself. If I cut off a bit of that leg, it will regenerate itself. And there are 5 things that each one of us must master, and that is self-love, because we can only meet each other as much as we've met ourselves,
Right.
and self-esteem and self-confidence and self-belief and self-respect. And once we get to that full potential of those 5, what I call the selfies, we then raise our vibrational energy, and then we can attract someone in, not somebody there and not somebody there, but we just are a magnet for attracting in that person. That person will also have that resonance. They won't have any issues themselves regarding those 5 things. And that's what people don't take the time and understanding to do. They rush into the next one.
Yeah, I have to say, I've had when I thought you were talking about me when like because I mean I definitely resonate with what you said. Like my marriage, got out of my marriage thinking, oh, I like you said, have to go into a different one, and then that's when I paused, and it was probably I want to say 2 years of me working on myself, and I mean it's a constant thing that I have to do daily, but now being in a healthy relationship that is like healing, like we're both healing, growing together, I realized, oh, okay, this is what it's supposed to feel like. This is what, my own, like you said, the 5, selves. I was like, oh, this is what, because it's like, even though when I'm kind of, maybe I didn't give myself too much like self-love, or I'm not giving, I'm maybe rejecting myself a little bit, or it's like, he can see that and he will kind of support me in like, what do you need to do for yourself? That like that support team versus I need self-absorbed. What do I need to do for myself? All the things. So
Yeah, I think a lot of people, Lauren, think that they're a half and they want to meet their other half and then
right,
they become a whole.
right,
In my understanding, you need to be a whole and that person needs to be a whole, and you come together to enhance and to support each other along your life path so that there's no control, there's no manipulation, there's no jealousy, there's no humiliation, and each of you love and support one another. And you each have your own individual life as well, so that when you come together on a date night, you've got plenty to chat about because you've both got your own individual interests or hobbies or whatever it is that you love to do. And then you come together as a couple and then you enhance and you've got plenty to chat about. Ladies that live their life through their man and then their man either leaves or passes away, they're completely lost because they never made their own life. And that's when they think, I don't even know what I want to eat because whatever I cooked was for that person.
Right. Yeah. No, I definitely understand. And I love that you said that. So I'm really interested in the we to me shift. Can you um, kind of explain to the listeners what that how
Yes,
you know
I
the
think I think
shift?
when you become a couple, you accommodate each other.
Mhm.
And if your husband really likes, I don't know, tennis, and you go along to tennis matches together, or he likes certain kind of music and you go to concerts together, you can merge. And then when that isn't there anymore and you become a me, you think, well, I what music do I like? You know, he always liked Bon Jovi, or he always liked Cat Stevens, or whoever it was. But who do I like? Where do I want to go? And maybe you compromised, and maybe you would have liked to have gone to a ballet, but he poo-pooed it and didn't want to go, and you haven't been for years. But now it's just you. You can actually think, well, yes, I can go to the ballet, or I can do the course that I've always wanted to do. And maybe you've always wanted to go on an art course, or maybe you've always wanted to learn a language, but you had other commitments and he didn't want you going out once a week for an evening class, or whatever it is. There's a huge shift from being a we to a me. Also, ladies, when we become a me, couples may stop inviting you when they go out because you're no longer a couple. And when you're a woman on your own and the husbands are chatting to you, the other women can see you as a threat, especially if they're not secure and stable in their marriage and they've been with that guy for a very long time and things aren't all hunky-dory. So
Mhm.
you can get dropped, and then you've got to make a new solo life for yourself and discover who you can do things with, and discover what you want to do. So going from a we to a me is a huge shift. So being a we, you're part of a team. And I think, you know, in my personal marriage, and I think a lot of people say this, it's like you and me, you know, not against the world, but we're together in the world. But then all of a sudden, when that ends, it's like, oh, I'm on my own. And when you're over the age of 50, and if you've had a family, at that point, they're either at uni, at college, or they're leaving home, they've got a relationship. Um, and in my case, it was emptiness syndrome and the end of a marriage all at the same time. A biggie.
Yeah, I was going to say that had to be hard to navigate. So when you speak about like the range of like healing modalities that you do, like living through the heart or the inner child work or ancestral healing, how do you feel this could benefit entrepreneurs dealing with trauma?
Um, Listen, you are an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur. And we experience different things in our life that are traumatic. So the first thing we need to do is look at the Akashic records and see what's going on and why that occurred. I also like to look at the Kabbalah astrology on the date that you were born. Who were you in a previous existence and what did you experience and what have you chosen to come back and learn in the current lifetime? What did your soul choose to experience, will also be shown to me in the charts, and what's been challenging. And then what are your core personality traits that are going to help you in the current life? And are you on the right route? I know in America you say route, we say route, but it's like a flight path. If you're a pilot and you're a few degrees off of your flight path, you're going to land in the sea. We don't want you to do that in life. We need you to be on the right route, and your intuition, your gut is your North Star, and you need to remove the gunk in the way for you to connect with that and to start trusting self, especially as an entrepreneur. I mean, a lot of people that are entrepreneurs that are multi wealthy will say that they wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and they will watch the sunrise, they will meditate, they will get in touch with their inner intuition, they will trust their gut. Because if you ask other people, what should I do? What should I say? You're giving away your power. And I look at my client when they come to me a bit like a Swiss cheese. They've got holes in, and the bits are floating around them like planets. And we need to get it back in and make them whole again and trust themselves and not give away their power and know by their gut, their second brain, of this is what I need to do today. This is the person I need to be mentored by. This is the person that's going to show me the way forward. This is who's going to support me. Because, as they say, it takes a village to raise a child, and it takes a village to help the entrepreneur on their journey. We're always learning. We might be in our 90s, we're still learning. That's what keeps them young. The people that live in the blue zones in the world that are living way past 100, their brains are active. They are doing things. They are walking. They are gardening. They're drinking plenty of water. They're going to bed and having 8 hours sleep. They're eating fresh fruit and vegetables. They're working their brain. And that's what we all need to do, and just get back to basics.
Yeah, I love that so much. So, what is like before we wrap up, what is like a final thought that you would like to share with our, because I love this conversation. Thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom.
I just like to say to everyone, you are enough. Over my 30 years of working with my lovely, lovely clients, they will come to me and say, I'm not young enough. I'm not slim enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm not clever enough. I'm not an entrepreneurial enough. Whatever it is. But I want you to know, I'm not into religion. I'm into spirituality. You were born enough. Whatever you believe in the universe, the source, whatever you want to label it, I promise you, you were born enough. And your journey is a learning curve. You chose your parents, you chose your siblings, you chose where you live, you chose everything because your soul needed to experience whatever it is you've gone through. You are not a victim. You have to swap it around and be the victor. If your man betrayed you, if he abandoned you or abused you, it's because you needed to experience it. And then you bless him, you forgive him, you let him go and let him carry on and live his life well. Because if you don't, you will manifest something in your body. And they are now showing through scientific proof that cancer can be caused by hate, can be caused by bitterness, it can be caused by resentment. Do you want that? No.
Right.
Let it go. Let it go.
I love that. Thank you so much for everything and all the wisdom that you shared today. And thanks for joining us on today's episode of the Enlightened Misfits podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe. You can leave a review and share with anyone that you feel that would gain knowledge from listening. And make sure to check out the description box Heather's links will all be there if you would like to connect with her. So stay tuned for more captivating conversations in the future. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week, and I will see you next time.